Welcome to this week's piece. So this is a vanity my parents picked up on my last trip down for me. I had initially planned on keeping this one whole and not separating it because it is the right size. You can still fit a little chair under there, and it'd be a pretty cool vanity in general. Somebody could potentially use it as a desk also, but I think it'd be a really awesome vanity. The downside to this is it had so many more issues than I had initially realized. They had this in one of their little storage outbuildings, and so there wasn't very good light in there when I saw it, but then when I brought it into the shop, I was like, wow, this needs a lot of work, which you guys know, I don't mind doing a lot of work. However, sometimes it's worth it and sometimes it's not. Oh, this is a fun little guy that was just acting all kinds of crazy right outside the shop door, and I just thought he was so cute. This is why I love working here, because there's just always this kind of stuff happening at my parents' house. Anyways, so once I was finished with that, I went about taking this thing apart because that center section is completely split. You can see it has multiple planked boards, and then what they do is they take a sheet of veneer and put it over the top, and then a sheet of veneer and put it on the bottom, and the veneers go in opposite directions to help with the structure of things. It did not help in this case. And then here you can see somebody had added in extra nail, and really pounded them in. You can see the little head of the hammer indentions. So these were a pain to get out. And at this time I didn't have my tripod, so sorry about that. But yeah, so they're doweled in. You can see this thing has a ton of water damage. And as soon as that focuses, you can see the split down the middle. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but I know that when I was carrying it, because it's just this thin board here, that's the only stability the two sides have, if you pick it up. So I'm guessing that's how it broke, was when maybe something was heavy on the center and they were trying to move it or drag it, and that's kind of what split it. And now we are in present day. So all that previous work happened my last trip, and then I came home. And so for the rest of it, I had just decided, okay, I'm just keeping nightstands because that centerpiece is going to be a bigger pain than I want to deal with. So the tops, I'm hand sanding. This was a very, very thin mahogany veneer on top. And it also had just some moisture damage and everything. So this is bleach water, and it's just going to kill anything that's on there. And I doused these entire pieces with this stuff, just annihilated them because I wanted to make sure that it would smell good and everything would be nice and clean, and it'd get the wood back to looking decent. So again, I'm back to deciding these are going to be nightstands. So I'm just taking off all the inside parts. I am cutting off the dowels. The reason I'm keeping the dowels in is because they work better than wood filler. So I'm just using a pole saw, and I'm doing flush cuts on those so that they are in there. And then I can just take a little bit of wood filler and fill in just around the edges of the dowels. But the dowels are obviously going to work way better than anything that I can stick in there. And it's wood, so they're meant to fit in there anyways. You can see my helpers of all kinds. I had my little sister out here helping me. That's my parents' dog, Buster. They have 2 dogs. And that little guy's Lucas, which you guys already know. This glue is my hide glue. I have hide glue and yellow wood glue. I use both. I like some for certain applications and some for others, and sometimes you can cross over, so. Okay, the drawer bottoms I had no idea were this terrible. And so what you can do on these is cut new ones, which is really easy. But I'm in the mountains and the stores are far away. So what I opted to do here is see if I could clean them up without having to go do that. So I scraped everything off, did the whole bleach water trick, and then let that all dry. And then I weighted them down so that they would be flat again, because obviously that much moisture will cause some bend in the wood. But I did that to all 4 of the drawers. They were all like that. I don't know where this piece was before, but it was no place for furniture. So I must have lost footage of this, but this just had a little notch taken out where the top would have slid in. I just filled that with a block of wood, and I use my chisel once the glue is set up and make it flush. And you can see all the wood filler around the dowels. It looks all kinds of crazy. But then I'm just going to take my sander and sand everything smooth. And of course, I'm painting the side of this, so you won't be able to see the difference in wood color or the dowels once it's painted over. I am going to say I was super, super pleased with how these guys turned out. Like, way better than I had hoped, and of course it saved me a trip to the hardware store. So for the tops, I'm going to be using this Kona gel stain. This is what my parents had up here, and it's the same kind that I did for the top that I brought down that is coming up later. I showed that post in community. So this stuff is great because you can kind of tone it down a bit with mineral spirits, or you could do it full dark. It does a lot of stuff. So any stain that you have, if you need to like mellow it down a bit, feel free to use mineral spirits, assuming it's not a water base. If it's water based, you can use water. I feel like I just need to say that, but you guys know. So anyways, these I just wanted to darken them up because I was using vintage paper, and then once I got it on there, I'm like, ooh, a little bit too dark. So I went back with the mineral spirits and just took it down a notch. I'm starting out with the base coat of sea glass because this is the color I had initially intended these to be. I think it is lovely, it is light and airy, and I just love it so much. And I found these sweet little napkins that match it so prettily, and then it didn't work. So these are the napkins. They've got that really nice blue in the background. That's what I was going for. When you decoupage with napkins, you have to peel off the extra layers of the napkin. So it'll have the front side that has the print, and then sometimes it'll have 2 or 3, sometimes even 4 extra layers that you don't need. These ones were only 2-ply, so I just had to take the 1-ply off, and then I could automatically go in and work with them. I do them just like I do any other decoupage. I do a light coat of the Satin Poly down, and then place it over the top, and then do a coat of Satin Poly over the top of the napkin, or whatever I'm decoupaging with. So again, thin layer down, napkin. You have to be so careful with these napkins because they are incredibly thin and delicate. Not the easiest to work with. One drawer I actually did multiple times because I kept tearing the paper, and a lot of times even if I tear the paper, I will still use it, I'll just fix it, but those were not having it. And then I had this floral wallpaper on hand for a project that I'm working on underneath this right here. So I was like, great, I have extra. I can cover up these with all the like little imperfections that were still kind of left on the drawer bottoms. So these worked out really well. But as you can see, those drawer bottoms look a billion times better than what they did. So now that the drawer fronts have dried overnight, I can just take some sandpaper and I'm sanding back the edges to make a clean edge all around the drawer. I just did these on the top drawers, and then as you can see, that blue is not the most dominant color anymore. It is now an olive green, and that is not what I had in mind. So as these were drying, I was just like, okay, now I have to rethink what I'm doing because I don't like the way that it looks when they're set in there. So while I'm pondering, I just went ahead and put all the drawer bottoms back in the drawers. You guys know that I bounce around a lot because, while something's drying or something else is happening, you kind of wait, but I still want to keep working. And this was one of those times where I'm like, okay, what do I need to do to make this still work and still come along? So all while I'm doing other tasks, I'm thinking about how I'm going to make this something that I will love in the end. These drawer bottoms are really easy to get in. They usually have like little pin nails in the back, and you can pull those out. These ones had additional glue blocks, so I'm just replacing the glue blocks on the bottom as well. Now the tops, because they are nightstands, are going to get lots of coats of poly because I feel like they are one of the most used surfaces in your house. Everyone sets their nighttime glass of water on them. And so I just like to take the extra step and make sure that they're very well protected. So these will get a layer here. I will sand them down, do another layer, sand them, do another layer. And then I think I forgot to show it on this one, but I do add wax to my final finish just because it is a very good protector. The drawer sides, I wasn't really sure what I was going to do with them. I initially was going to stamp some of my florals that I do, but then I'm like, well, it has florals on the front, florals on the inside. That might be overkill. So I just went in and cleaned up the edges and then did the dovetails. I felt like that was sufficient. Once I got to that point, I kind of was like, I have an idea. And it's not what I initially wanted, but I think it will work and make things kind of even out a bit with the coloring. So I'm going to keep the tops the sea glass, and then the bottom I'm adding Patina Green, and this is like a very soft olive color, which matches the papers. So I just added these on and then blended the olive into the sea glass, and it turned out pretty nice. I will say that the olive oxidized a bit more than I was used to, and so I struggled a little bit more than I usually do with blending. And I think a lot of it has to do with how warm it was this day when I was trying to blend it, because it just kept drying so fast. So I couldn't get the two colors to blend like I normally can. So I just had to work back and forth a ton, keeping it super wet. I actually have a bowl of water down there too that I would store my brushes in just so that my brushes stayed wet. I have my spray bottle, and then I had to keep going back and forth with the two colors until I was happy with the blend, because I couldn't fully tell until after it dried whether or not it was going to be something I could live with or not. So this was a really big struggle for me, and usually my blends are just fast and easy, and that was not the case this time. So I just want you guys to know we all struggle with this. We all have our moments. This was one for me. And I think it was even more frustrating because I just wanted these to be the blue with the blue napkins, and it just didn't go my way. After the blend, all that was left to do was seal with poly and add my hardware, and these little guys were finished. Oh hi, Taryn here with Elegant Upgrades, and we've got our finished pieces. So lighting is not great right now, but I obviously will have photos at the end of this that you can check out. But I think they turned out good. They took a whole different direction than what I had planned. Initially, I was going to keep this one a vanity because I liked it. It's still a functioning vanity just because the way that it was built was a really good height to have a chair with and all that stuff. So those ones are really good at having the ability to stay a vanity. Now, as I was working on it, I realized that the middle section was completely split. There was no way to repair that and have it be anything like it was before. So then I was like, you know what? I'll cut a new piece of wood. I will redo the entire middle section and keep it. And then this was all before I went back up to Portland and then came back down. So I'd already started these my last trip down here and then finished them this trip. And then once they got back on this trip, I was like, you know what? They're already taken apart. They're already, am I gonna wanna spend the money on wood, like a good piece of wood to put in the middle? I don't think I'll get a good return on investment for that. I do get a great return on nightstands. So unfortunately, these ones got turned into nightstands, but it's good because they're cute. They turned out okay. I brought this paper down with me because I thought it would, I can always just do something with decoupage. So I didn't know that these were gonna go on this initially, but they worked out well. And then of course, I had to add the green at the bottom because these turned green, which was not my favorite thing. It's fine, they look good. It's just, I picked out the napkins because I loved that light, like robin's egg blue, and these did not stay that color. So I was like, oh man, I have to figure out what I'm gonna do now and rethink this whole thing because I just wanted them to be like a very pristine set, and now they're blended, which is fine. We all know I like a good blend, so that's okay. Yeah, they turned out pretty good, and hopefully they sell as quick as the last ones did. That'd be nice. So sales are going really good down here. I'm very pleased. So hopefully that trend keeps going. And yeah, thanks so much for watching. Leave your comments and questions and everything below. You know that I answer. It just takes me a little bit longer while I'm down here. And I think that's it. Yeah, I hope you guys are having a great summer, and I'll see you next week.